What's going on, Boom Crew? Welcome here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin, and I hope you all are having a fantastic Saturday once again. As you guys can see, for yet another show, I am all by myself here again. Yes, one truly is the loneliest number. But luckily, I am not alone, ladies and gentlemen, because I am joined again by one of the greatest producers I've had of all time, one of the greatest producers I've ever seen in the history of producing. It is Mr. Jake Bradley, ladies and gentlemen. Jake, how you doing, man?
I have legally changed my name to Jakey for Easy for Cheesy.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry. Wait, what was that?
No, I can't say that again because it's already gone because it was that lame.
All right, well, just like that, in a moment's notice, Jake's name goes back to Jake Bradley. Like a shooting comment, it ends very quickly. That was very good, man. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all, again, are having a fantastic day. The sun's out and shining. It's a beautiful day here. We're here at the Illinois Media School in Lombard campus. So if you guys want to check them out, definitely go check them out for sure. But today, we were going to talk about some other stuff, but since unfortunately Tom could not be here today for undisclosed reasons, I thought that, you know what, we're going to have to wing this one. But since NFL football, college football is starting up here pretty soon, I thought let's dive into this. I know we're going to talk about this more and more, don't get me wrong, but we've got an open opportunity. So, Jake, you ready to do this, man?
Oh, let's do this.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it started. We're going to kick this one off, ladies and gentlemen, with more on the Ezekiel Elliott front. It has been reported that he is not reporting into training camp. He has made it official. He is a no-show. The Cowboys are currently in the midst of negotiations with Ezekiel Elliott. They are trying to figure out if they can get a deal done. Reportedly, from what I had seen from social media, there may have been a contract already offered to Ezekiel Elliott. Numbers have not been disclosed yet, but if the Cowboys have already made their mark to Ezekiel Elliott, I give them, I understand. I understand what they're trying to do, right? Now, if you're coming over from Putting Up Points, where I was just there, by the way, Putting Up Points, Jake Bradley, Tyler Prickett's amazing radio show. Those guys do a great job. Check them out. I was standing in for Tyler since he wasn't here today. I was there with Jake. We talked about this a little bit already with the Ezekiel Elliott situation, as well as a little bit with Melvin Gordon and stuff. But the whole thing about Ezekiel Elliott is just kind of, I don't know exactly how to describe it other than I understand where he is coming from specifically, but I also know that Ezekiel Elliott's position in holding out is coming pretty weak. I mean, it's one of those things where in life, one thing that you're going to find out, for those that are young and that haven't done this already, but, you know, one of the big things that you want to always do is you want to invest in things that go up in value, right? You want to invest in those things that have a increasing value in any sort of way. You always want to try and find the best possible things for that, right? Things that depreciate in value, yeah, we put money into them, but you don't want to throw like $100,000 at something that, you know, when you try to sell it later, you're not going to get anywhere near the price, right? I mean, that's one of the problems with cars, right? Cars depreciate in value right when you drive it off the lot. Land oftentimes goes up in value, right? Depending on how the circumstances are, but, you know, you live in a decent neighborhood, it gets a lot better. Guess what? The property value goes up. That's one of the things that I think the Dallas Cowboys need to understand about this. You know, quarterbacks, wide receivers, corners, offensive linemen, edge rushers, they are now the top billing players that you need to be focusing on. I mean, you know, you can try to say, well, a running back's good. Running backs are there too, and it's like, yeah, running backs are good. Don't get me wrong, running backs are talented, but you look at a guy like Todd Gurley, right? Todd Gurley put up huge numbers last year, but now you have a lot of things falling into question for him because he has arthritis in the knees. He's got other injuries that have been following him in the past that now seem to possibly be reoccurring. So you do kind of have to consider well, we gave him a big contract before we knew about any of this. Now it's coming up. Is he really an A-plus player? Did you really want to pay him all that money? This is something that you're going to have to really examine with Ezekiel Elliott. Don't get me wrong. I like Ezekiel Elliott. I think he's a talented running back, top 5 in the league, no doubt. He's become a better pass catcher. He's a really good runner. He doesn't avoid, he doesn't avoid situations. He's willing to fight through. He's a real warrior as a football player.
What's up? I'm sorry to cut you off. I just think that with Le'Veon Bell and his deal that he got after sitting out the entire season, now we were already talking about this, that they're two completely different situations because he was franchise tagged and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But Le'Veon Bell has proven that a guy like Zeke can go out there and get a huge deal. Now, whether it's a good deal or not, like with the Jets, we're going to see their team play out how it is with their salary, the way that it is, paying a running back really high. But do you think that I know that this whole kind of topic is that if it's worth it or not.
Right.
Do you see that it just works out more times than not, or vice versa?
Well, this is the thing that we have to remember, right? When it comes to professional sports, there is always a shift in the leagues, right? Every league has a shift in who is the go-to guys, right? In the NFL, long ago, running backs, you can't exist without a running back, right? You got to have a running back to win football games. Running the ball was the way. And then the 80s came around, and then, the 49ers said, no, you can get away with not having a top running back. You can throw the ball, and you can be successful. And then you saw a few other teams say, well, what if you combine the two? Well, then you're really good. But it kind of seems that as time has advanced, we've seen it. I feel like we've seen it more now, especially with these last 10 years. Throwing the ball proves to be a bit more successful than having your running back run. Don't get me wrong. Does a ground game help set up the pass? In a way, yeah, it does. It helps to kind of throw people off, certainly. But because more teams now are going to the spread option, right? We're seeing more NFL teams now run to the West Coast spread option because they want to get the defense to move a little bit. They don't want to have linebackers bunched in the middle. They don't want to have the edge rushers, constantly coming at them. They want these teams to throw other schemes at them that'll open up opportunities. And I get it, but then that devalues a lot of what your running back can do. So, and like you look at a guy like Saquon Barkley, right? He's the new hot young thing in the NFL. Everybody raves about this guy. And look, I will say I was wrong about where this guy was going to be at. I thought Saquon Barkley would maybe struggle a little bit there in the NFL, but I think one of the key things that he does really well is, of course, pass catch. Right? That's one of the best things about him is that he catches passes like a receiver. He's able to go up and get the ball just like anybody else. He's not as good as Odell Beckham Jr. and Antonio Brown do it. He's not Julio Jones, but he's another weapon that you can throw the ball to. The fact that he runs the ball is great, but the way that the system plays out nowadays in the NFL, everybody's throwing passes. So the question becomes, do you really need a running back who's running for 1,000+ yards to win in a season? Well, obviously not. The Patriots have done it many times, right? They're the new. They are what everybody is achieving to be. Okay, now I know everybody doesn't have that same setup like they do, but the way that they've handled things is, look, they've gone through multiple running backs. They haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher for their team in the longest time, and it's been forever. So you can get by without having that running back. Right now, Chicago's doing that, right? We just said to Jordan Howard, hey, thanks for your time. We didn't get great value for him. I don't think a 6th-round pick was really where he should have been at. I felt 3rd or 4th maybe, but, we told him, hey, thanks, but, we're going to move on. And we got Mike Davis, David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen. And for a lot of people, they're going to look at that and say, it's decent, but it's not Jordan Howard. No, it's not Jordan Howard. You're right. It's not one back that can put up big yards. But you know what Jordan Howard's biggest problem was? Can't catch the football. He got better over time, don't get me wrong. His catching got better. but because he was never going to be a guy that could catch 40, 50 passes, for Matt Nagy's offense, that just doesn't work. He needs a running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. He needs a guy who can split out and be more of a wide receiver. That's where Tariq Cohen came in a lot. That's where I think David Montgomery is going to play more of a role. Mike Davis is more of a threshold, balanced running back that I think is going to take more of the ground and pound because he's a little bit bigger than those two guys. But we talked about this on the radio show for putting up points. If you've got three guys who are averaging 500 yards, three guys who are averaging 500 yards apiece, and then you've got Ezekiel Elliott who's averaging 1,500 yards for the season, right? If you got those two things going, which one do you think is going to cost more? Ezekiel Elliott, right? Because if they gave him the new contract, what's he probably going to want? 20, 25 million a year, right? So you're paying out the wazoo for this, man, a year. 25 million a year, that's a lot of money.
Can't you just imagine that it's going to be easier, though, for a head coach or an offensive coordinator to just play with one guy?
Well,
I know that actually they're saying this season also that Tony Pollard, their draft pick, he might end up seeing a little bit of like a change of pace role just to get the heavy workload off Zeke. Mm-hmm. But then that would only hurt his value even more, when we're talking money value.
Right. Honestly, I think you're right, though. I think you're right in that every team does want the one feature back, right? Everybody wants to find the feature running back. They want to get the guy that can do everything, right? The measuring stick right now for running backs in the NFL currently as the game is being played, I have to say, is Saquon. Because he can run, he can catch, he can block, he probably can throw the ball, right? He can do a little bit of everything, and if you have that guy that can do everything, that's the one player, it does make it a lot easier than paying three different guys to do everything just like the one guy can. But this is where, again, though, we have to remember that this is a business. And as much as you would love to pay the one guy to do everything, if he's going to cost you a fortune that you just don't want to spend because you have other places that you need to allocate that money for, then maybe the more suitable option are paying three guys a little bit cheaper value to do those different things. Now, it doesn't have to be three. It can be two, or, you can shoot for the one guy if you want. But I just think because Ezekiel Elliott has 2 more years left on his contract. Remember that. 2 more years. He's making around $12.5 million in those 2 years he's got left on his contract. I mean, that's a significant amount of money. And look, it's easy for me to sit here and say that because I'm not making that money, and, I could sit here and say I'd take that for a fraction and I'd play in his position. But, if I'm in his position, I may say something different. But this is where I just look at it and I say, you really have no leg to stand on, right? I know it's Jerry Jones and the Cowboys and all that stuff, but understand this. You have 2 more years left. You're not going to sit out 2 years. Don't even kid me with that. There's no way you're sitting out 2 years of the NFL because you want a new deal. I don't believe that for one bit. The other thing is you've had, almost 6 off-the-field issues at this point now come up. And I know it's the Dallas Cowboys. They don't really seem to be bothered by that kind of thing. But because of that, it shows that your maturity level is not where it probably should be, right? I mean, this is a guy who even his own father came out and said the night of the draft, hey, look, I think he's a good player, but I think he's going to struggle because I don't know if he's mature enough to handle the situation at hand for what the NFL is going to bring him. And it's showing because he's going out and putting himself in these situations that, I won't say everything is his fault, but it seems like everything is surmounting to this level where he's involved in something each and every season. That becomes a distraction. And when you become a distraction, that can sometimes force teams into bigger problems. If you're the Cowboys, I would tell them, honestly, trade Zeke. Trade Zeke. I know it sounds crazy. I want every Cowboy fan to take a deep breath. Don't poke me with spears. Don't come after me.
Hot
Exactly.
take.
Don't attack me, okay? Just hear me out. Zeke is a good running back, but we've seen good running backs before, right? Adrian Peterson is considered one of the top 10 greatest running backs of all time. What did the Vikings do, though? They went nowhere. They went closer to a Super Bowl without Adrian Peterson than they have with him. I mean, it's one of those things where you sometimes have to make that hard decision. You've got Dak, who has 1 year left. You've got Amari Cooper, who's got 1 year left. Jalen Smith's contract's coming up soon. Byron Jones, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, has his contract coming up soon. The offensive line has been great for you, and you're going to have to pay those guys soon, and you're going to have to decide how you're going to pay those guys. You've got decisions to make, and right now in the league, quarterback, wide receiver, offensive line, cornerback, that's where it's at. And Jalen Smith, even though he's more of a linebacker, he does do a lot of edge rushing when they ask him to, and he's been very good for them.
Trade everyone.
Yeah, really, trade everyone. The Bears will take them in a heartbeat. But no, seriously, I mean, this is the kind of thing that they have to really decide. And this is where Jerry Jones, I think, he gets blinded a lot because he gets so in love with these players, right? He gets so buddy-buddy with them that I think it becomes a problem. It's one of those things that for everybody out there, like I do a show with friends. I love these guys no matter what. I love doing it. But one of the big things I've always been told is doing business with friends and family can be very difficult because there's an emotional side to things that need to be set aside. For instance, I have to say it. I am the boss here, right? I love these guys, but at the end of the day, I have to do bossly things sometimes that maybe they don't like. Maybe they talk about me behind my back at the water cooler. I don't know. That's their thing, not mine.
You suck.
Yeah, there you go. He tells it to my face. But that's one of the things that I think Jerry Jones can't do. You know, he's one of those guys. He's like, they're my buddies, they're my guys, and I always got them. Jerry, you're their employer. They're your employees. You have to be able to make the hard decision. If you're going to be the general manager and owner, you're going to have to make the hard decisions with Jason Garrett on who stays and who goes, who gets paid and who doesn't. You got a young quarterback who looks like he could be really good if you give him the talent around him.
How about get rid of Jason Garrett? Because how about get rid of Jason Garrett? Honestly.
Yeah, no, Jason Garrett. How much longer are you? I mean, what is it?
Talk about buddy. I mean, geez, that's
right.
the
yeah.
example.
No, I mean your former backup quarterback that had one good game on Thanksgiving for the Dallas Cowboys is your head coach for what 10 plus years now. They've won one playoff game. I mean, come on, man. You know, seriously.
With Tony Romo, dude, he was so good.
Right, exactly. I mean, again, you got a quarterback, you've got a young quarterback, mind you, that is progressively getting better, making the playoffs for you. You've got one of the young, talented wide receivers in Amari Cooper just sitting there. Both are in camp, not holding out. They want new deals, but they're not holding out, right? You've got a cornerback who is one of the best in the league. Byron Jones is really good. And the Cowboys haven't had a decent cornerback since, Terrence Newman? Was maybe that the last one they had?
Wow.
It's been a while. And you're going to pay Zeke over those guys? I find that hard to believe. And what are you going to do with this offensive line? You're not going to pay them. Really? You're going to let them walk. I find that hard to believe. Right now, everything Dallas has sets them up to say they're going to have a long, successful future. But if they don't make a move soon, they're going to lose it. And whether Zeke's going to be a part of that or not is really now on him. Look, I understand he's great. I think he will get paid. But if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I would look at this right now and say, okay, you don't want to come to camp? Go somewhere else. We'll trade you. You can try to get a deal done with whoever we trade you to then. And if you're not happy there and you want to hold out there, that's fine. You're not our problem anymore. We're going to move forward. We're going to get another set of running backs in here and done deal. And now, by the way, you don't have to worry about paying him. Now you can pay Dak. Now you can pay Amari. Now you can pay Byron and Jalen and Travis Frederick and Zach Martin and all those guys, right? Now you can set yourself up for what the NFL is nowadays. It's a throwing league where quarterbacks need to be successful. Dak is a guy who I think can get, I'm not saying he's going to be in the top 5 echelon, but he's a guy who can put himself in the top 20, top 15 conversation if he's not there already by this point. To me, it seems, it's simple for me to say it. I know Cowboys fans right now are freaking out, but seriously, trade Zeke. If Jimmy Johnson could do it to Herschel Walker, who was untradeable, they said, by the Dallas Cowboys, why can't Jerry Jones just have it happen again? He was there to see it happen before. What's wrong with doing it again? The last time it did it, it worked out in their favor. 3 Super Bowls is pretty good. A dynasty is really good. But Jerry Jones, again, buddy with these players. Too friendly. Got to be a CEO. Got to be the owner of the company. Got to be the owner of the brand. Because you want people to say, how about them Cowboys? Not, how about them Cowboys? You want to hear happiness, not people in sadness and mourning. You want Dallas to be happy for you. You want to see Dallas be successful. Trade Zeke. Sounds crazy. But you know what? Every now and then, a little crazy makes the world go round.
Especially because they're riding him so hard. I'm just going through a couple of his stats right now, and to look that he had 95 targets last year in the receiving game, and that was 60 more than both his prior 2 seasons. Yeah. And then with the 300 carries, that's just so much work. That's so much work. And then you're going to just expect to give a guy a multi-year deal like that who, he already has history of missing games, whether suspension or injury. So it's hard to commit to something long-term like that.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Again, it's like a car. Running backs are like not to equate it like this, but they are a lot like cars. Once you drive it off the lot, it depreciates in value. The moment a running back is in college and taking snaps in college, it is starting to lose. Running backs start to lose their value because you're taking 250 plus carries, depending on your team, of course. But you're taking all those carries, so you're beating yourself down and you're beating yourself out. This is why running backs fail out at the age of 30, right? That's why you don't see a lot of running backs who at the age of 34, 35 are still going strong.
Frank Gore.
There's been a
Frank
few.
Gore.
Right, Frank Gore. Well, Frank Gore is made of titanium. I don't know what he's made out of this point, but he's one of my favorite running backs of all time. You don't see a lot of guys like that. Adrian Peterson's another one. He's lasted longer than he should have. An ACL injury, comes back, runs for 2,000 yards, takes another beating for so many years with the Vikings, has a pretty decent season with the Redskins, but again, he got hit a lot. He got used a lot.
And he got a good contract. He got a moderately long-term contract.
He did.
And whether that's because Geis is already dealing with hamstring injury in training camp, so maybe they think that he might be injury prone. But yeah, dude, AP, people just wrote him off. Yeah. After he bounced around to the Saints, the Cardinals, he was all over the place. And now, and just to think of the Redskins, people sleep on the Redskins. They got maybe the quarterback of the future. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, look, but again, here's the thing though. Even with Adrian Peterson, who knows what'll happen next year, right? Because next year could be the downfall year. He's up in that age. But again, there's not too many running backs that have that ability. A lot of them, by the time they are 30, have just been worn down to pieces. Todd Gurley's 25. He could already have peaked. He could be out, right?
That's unbelievable.
And that's sad to say, but that could be possible.
Yeah. And you see, the Rams went out and got Darrell Henderson, and the word during training camp has been that Gurley is always going to have to deal with arthritis the rest of his career.
Yeah,
so
he is.
When you're thinking about another 300-plus carry guy in one of the offenses that calls the most plays.
Yeah.
You know, that's some pretty serious stuff. And it's too late. They already signed his extension. So
Yeah,
it's not
no.
like they're going back on that. So now they're kind of getting the insurance just to like kind of, you know, fall back on him. But I think that's what teams need to do. And you see with like AP, yeah, they might be paying him a little bit much for an older guy, but then
Right.
you think they're being protected by Darius Geis because Geis is probably going to get the majority of the snaps at way less money. You know,
Yeah.
so they
No.
kind of have that flexibility. In the Cowboys case, it's kind of the opposite, where you have Zeke Elliott who wants to get this big contract. You're bringing in Tony Pollard, who's mostly just a kick return specialist, but you're kind of expecting him to be this like change of pace guy.
Right.
You know, it just doesn't fit, especially with what you brought up. You know, Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott. That's one of the most important things right now on their schedule. They
Yeah.
need those guys.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what offense is quarterback, wide receiver.
Yeah. Again, look, it would be that's exactly it. Thank you, Jake. That's exactly it. I mean, look, again, everybody would love to have Saquon Barkley. Like, that's the new thing. And Saquon's really just an offshoot of what Todd Gurley has been, to be honest. But you can see what might happen because of Todd Gurley. So, you know, don't be surprised if the Giants are a little hesitant with Saquon. Saquon looks good. Saquon's a little bigger than Gurley, though. Don't get me wrong. By only a few pounds, and you know, but even still, it's the same situation. He's gonna be asked to do so much. At one point, is he gonna get worn out? Especially now, right? Because let's shift to this: the Giants, they're in a bit of a pickle right now because they got no receivers. Sterling Shepard's got a broken thumb. Corey Coleman tore his ACL. And now Golden Tate has a 4-game suspension for taking a fertility drug, which he is now, according to what Jake told me, he's getting ready to appeal.
Yeah, they said that's going to be starting really soon. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, I had no idea actually it was a fertility drug. That's the truth.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
That is the word that's coming out from the articles.
Yeah, so I would have definitely. I mean, that's going to be quite of an appeal process as it is. So, even if you ended up having to serve that suspension, it might not be until middle of the season. You know, but
Yeah.
that's worse for the Giants. They need all of their guys there, and especially with the Shepard and Coleman injury happening on the same day.
Yeah.
The same day.
No,
And
yeah.
Saquon's going to be busy, man. Saquon, you better get ready to earn all of that tiny little contract that you have for your rookie deal. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, and that's the worry about this, right? You've got 3 guys out, which, by the way, too, one of their other wide receivers, Darius Slayton, is already deemed questionable as well due to a unfortunate injury that I believe had happened over the offseason. If I understand that right, I'm not sure on that, but
I'll look it up really quick. He's on my fantasy team in Dynasty. Late round flyer. And look at that. It's going to pay out because, just to switch it over to fantasy really quick, that's definitely going to pay out because if you have 4 of the wide receivers down, you know, it's going to be really hard. Corey Coleman has a lot of pedigree as a former first-round pick.
right,
You know, and he was supposed to just kind of get back on track with them. And
Right.
now he's going to be completely gone for the entire season. It's not like Sterling Shepard. They kind of expect Sterling Shepard to maybe make his way back mid-season.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, the
Yeah,
idea from
Darius
what I
Slayton
understood,
is not practicing right now. He's sidelined with hamstring right now. So,
right?
that's even
Well,
worse.
the idea that I understood was the whole concept for the Giants for what they had as the wide receivers. Now that this has come out, was that Sterling Shepard was supposed to be sort of the successor to Odell Beckham Jr. Not on the same caliber, but he has shown the ability to be a wide receiver that can go up and get the ball and play well against cornerbacks. I mean, he's a really good player, don't get me wrong. He's worked his best game out of the slot, but he's still a very good player. Corey Coleman was supposed to be a guy who they could use as sort of the downfield threat, right? This guy's going to run a 4-3 down the field as fast as he can, and Eli or whoever's the quarterback is going to throw it up there, and hopefully he's going to make a big bombing catch. And
It's
then
not
Golden
Eli
Tate's
or
going to work
whoever.
out of the slot where he has the last couple years for the Lions, and be a stud from there because he has just been incredible. And they're going to work with smaller receivers, and they're just going to have a lot of big play-making throws, which is what really equates to what Eli Manning has been used to, right? He doesn't have the strong arm like he used to in the past, but he still tries to throw it up there like he used to. So if you can get your wide receivers to kind of be on that level, there's a possibility that big things might happen. But now you take those three guys out of the game. Now what do you do? Saquon's going to take a lot of the punishment. He's going to take a lot of the punishment. Now, they're going to go out and get some wide receivers. They're going to probably go to free agency or make some trades, maybe, who knows, try to get somebody of decent value probably. But at the end of the day, your best pass catcher is still going to be Saquon. Even with those three guys there, he's one of your best pass catchers. Your second best pass catcher is Evan Engram, who I will say this, I think he's an underrated tight end, and I think he's going to emerge with a really big season. Now especially now.
Agreed.
I think he's going to have a great year. And with these injuries now, he's going to take it to another level. But now you got to think about that. You don't have your three receivers who are kind of being pegged as your starters in this spread offense, where Evan Engram was also considered to be a guy who they could split out wide because he's got some speed for a tight end. Don't get it wrong. He's got some good speed. Or Saquon Barkley, you can always put him out of there wide. But
they have no other running backs. They have no other running backs on their roster, like Wayne Gallman, Paul Perkins.
Yeah,
they don't have that kind of option.
Right. I'll say this. I like Wayne Gallman. I like him, but his biggest problem has been that he can't seem to adjust to how the NFL is now, right? I mean, when he came in, the Giants were still running with single back, quarterback under center, hand the ball off type of stuff, right? They had not adjusted to this new spread the defense, four wide offense, and he's just not a pass catcher. He just doesn't do that. Yeah, he's a quick back, but he's not a pass catching back by any means. But I mean, the brunt of this thing now for the Giants is going to lie a lot on Saquon and Evan Engram if that's the way they're going to play the game. Now, they could revert back to old school stuff, go back under center and let Saquon run the ball a lot, but now you're wearing him out. Now you're beating up your running back for the sake of what? That your receiving game isn't that good? That's a tough one to do. But either way, it feels like the Giants are just going to lean on him very heavily. And the Giants already have a lot of problems as it is because the Giants also have a quarterback issue, so they say. But the fact that they haven't opened up a quarterback competition I thought was kind of weird until video surfaced of Daniel Jones throwing the football, and it's exactly what you would think.
Hot take.
This guy, look, Daniel
terrible.
Jones, we make fun of him. All right, everybody's made fun of him, right? Looks like Eli Manning in practice, acts like him, same emotional, facial emotes come from these guys, right? It's interesting. 6th overall pick in the 2019 NFL draft out of Duke. No quarterback from Duke has ever been drafted that high until now. And people were saying, this isn't basketball, and, they got a point. Duke's football, don't get me wrong, Duke has some decent football players. They get some good guys. But a lot of them are guys that develop over time, and they've never really had a standout superstar in football. He's probably the best quarterback, I think, that Duke's ever had, and that's really just coming off the fact that he's a big, tall wide receiver with good-looking mechanics for college. I think you put him in the pros, I think he's going to be a guy that struggles, especially if he doesn't have the weapons. Eli, you got, he can do it without the weapons. He's done it in the past, but you got to remember, too, he's up in age. He's going to be 40. He's getting older. The arm isn't as strong as it used to be. The mindset's the same. The desire's the same. But if you don't have the weapons to give those guys the chance to be able to throw the ball, that are not your running back and not your tight end, who are most likely going to be double and triple teamed, then what are you going to do? I mean, this is where the Giants, they could be headed for disaster again.
I think what helps, especially with the development of Daniel Jones, is that I don't think the Giants and their fan base too, I don't think we're expecting Daniel Jones to start at all this year.
Right.
So I think that the injuries, they kind of more affect the output that Eli Manning is going to be putting on the field. Like, it's going to be really tough for him because barring injury, Eli Manning is going to be the guy. He's going to start all 16 if he's healthy and able to. It doesn't matter if he's struggling, I think, at this point. I think if he's throwing, 10 interceptions and 2 touchdowns, I think they're putting him out there for the season, for the rest of his contract, what have you. I think it's because they don't want Daniel Jones to play. They want him to be this kind, because when they selected him, they knew that he was this raw talent. And, viral video aside, they know what they got.
Yeah.
They've seen more of him than anyone else. So I think at this point you can just hopefully assume, like, I wouldn't even be surprised if Eli Manning got hurt and they would sign a different quarterback and just not have Daniel Jones play.
Yeah.
Just because if he is really your franchise guy, if he is your number 6 overall pick, you do not want to put him out there and jeopardize him with just terrible options.
Right.
Fall into, you just fall into bad habits, almost like we talk about Mitch Trubisky, with John Fox. It's almost like it hurt him that season, kind of hurt the development of him. So I just think that for the sake of the Giants, we can only hope that Eli Manning can put in a moderately successful season in order to kind of just help groom Daniel Jones on his way.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I think you hit it on the nail there too, and I agree. I don't know if Daniel Jones, honestly, I don't know if he's ever going to see the field. This may be another Josh Rosen situation where they're going to have to trade him for probably less value than than Josh Rosen got traded for. I mean, we're probably talking like a 3rd-round pick for this guy.
Well, we know that Eli is going to go.
Right. Well, eventually he is going to retire.
Even the Packers hang on to Aaron Rodgers, and it turns out to be the greatest decision ever. And that was behind an aging Brett Favre who, he was still putting on some great stuff. But no one's saying that Eli Manning can't do that. No one's saying that Eli Manning can't recreate that. And then so you just have that kind of situation where it's almost what NFL teams prefer this day, where you have they didn't want Mitch Trubisky to start. They wanted Mike Glennon to start, and he sucked.
Yeah.
He was so bad, and they didn't have a choice. But with Eli Manning, it's different. That's he's been in the league for 14 years.
Right.
Like you said, he's turning on 40, but he knows how to snap. Like, he knows how to read defenses. He knows how to do all of these things. He might be limited now, but come on. He's still better than I would still put him in the top half of the league just because of the pedigree.
Yeah.
And the capability. That he can do it, but just recency bias. I said it a lot on the radio show earlier today.
Right.
But it's just recency bias. So, but I believe that he's capable of putting in a decent season. But
no, I agree.
His receiving core is just destroyed. Destroyed.
No, yeah, I agree. I think Eli Manning can have a really good year. I think a lot of it though is just it's gonna depend on what they put around him at this point, because of his age. But no, when it comes to the Daniel Jones situation, I mean, the fact that there's no quarterback battle, again, like I said, it surprised me, but after seeing the video, and I like what I got from somebody. I got a small little message from someone through my email about the whole the Giants quarterbacking thing, and they said that it feels like it could be, because I brought up the Josh Rosen, potentially the trade thing, because they brought it up to me, and they said that it could be something where next year the Giants get the number 1 overall pick, and now you have a chance to go draft one of the 3 quarterbacks that are projected to go possibly top 5, top 6 at this point, which are Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, and Jake Fromm, who I know you're not hot on. I know you don't like him, Jake, but a lot of people are putting them in that top 6 because a lot of people are projecting that maybe the Bucks and some other teams that might need quarterback help will be there. So those guys are probably going to go pretty early. So it could be a situation where the Giants maybe say, hey, look, we got a number 1 overall pick. We got a chance to take Tua Tagovailoa. We think he's the best quarterback. Or, hey, we like Justin Herbert. We think he's the best quarterback. We're going to trade Daniel Jones to get whatever value we can, and we're going to bring this guy in. He's going to start over Eli, and hopefully Eli can teach him if he does not retire after the season. You know, I mean, I think it's an interesting play. It could be what happens. The Giants are a mystery at this point.
See, I expect Eli two more seasons.
2 more
to
seasons.
To be completely honest, yes.
Okay.
I mean,
It's possible. It's really possible. Who knows? Maybe he won't retire until Tom Brady does.
well, not even that. It's just I don't think he's hurting. Like, yeah, he might be limited as mobility-wise, but he was never known for being a mobile quarterback. Like, I don't think he's hurting. I don't think he's having trouble with the new NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that he has the passion, and if you have that guy as your signal caller and you're leading your offense, you're always better with that than not. So I feel like he's at least going to, because I think his contract might be 2 more years. So if that is the case, I would imagine him just to go through with that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not ever sign. I don't see him signing with a team after that. But I can also see him doing analyst work, just like all the other players.
Yeah.
Get taking away our jobs.
Yeah, I know, really.
That stuff. So, but.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he's never really complained. Odell Beckham Jr., said what he had to say about the whole Giants situation. And, Eli said, hey, I'm still here. I don't have a problem. I didn't think anything was really an issue here. I'm just here playing the game, doing the best I can. You're the one that left. You're the one that, decided to want to complain and moan and all that stuff. Yeah, it's interesting what's going to happen in New York. I mean, are they going to turn it around anytime soon? No, they're going to take a long time. I think the Jets are going to get it probably back together before the Giants do. But you know what? The Giants, they have an opportunity to still set themselves up for a good future. It's just a matter of pegging who is your next quarterback and then allowing them to take everything from Eli as much as possible and learn from that man. Because as bad as he has been, right, 116, 114 is his record for his career, man still has 2 Super Bowl trophies against one of the best teams that never won a Super Bowl, 18-1 Patriots, and then did it again to the Patriots in 2011. Maybe he wasn't good in the regular season, but he was always good for the playoffs. So maybe all the Giants need to do is just sneak in there again with a 500 record, an 8-8 record. They could maybe pull it off again. Who knows?
I think especially I'm rethinking your whole idea of trading Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Because this whole kind of conversation started with the running backs and having to pay them and having to pay someone like Saquon Barkley. So if you can kind of get rid of Daniel Jones and know that you have 2 more years in Eli Manning and then draft the quarterback, you have those 2 extra years that you don't have to pay your 2 main offensive players. Yeah. Because I would imagine the second overall pick of the draft is going to get re-signed by the team who drafted them. They would be absolutely insane if you were to invest that kind of draft capital and not retain that.
Right. I mean, barring any major injury or issues or anything like that, yeah, I would think so. I would definitely think so.
So I think that's just another reason why that Daniel Jones trade, it actually, I mean, it could make sense. I mean, what Arizona did was very, very odd.
Oh, yeah. And who knows if it's going to work.
Yeah, but I just think, now that we're just thinking this whole conversation is about the running backs and having to pay them,
right,
it would just kind of be really helpful for the New York Giants to not have to pay. Especially with Daniel Jones, say he doesn't start for another 2 years. Well, he's gonna play for 2 years, and then you have to sign him to that extension or move on.
Yeah.
And during that time, you are going to be paying Saquon Barkley a lot of money.
Exactly.
So they're kind of in a really weird situation that I can actually see them maybe moving on, maybe
Yeah.
getting Daniel Jones as the insurance, as as just something draft a quarterback every year, get your guy, whatever.
Right.
Never even show him, kind of trade him off, maybe like a Jimmy G.
Right.
No
Yeah.
one ever sees him. No one knows what they got. Jimmy G ends up being good. Mike Glennon ends up being terrible.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Right. There's just so many variables that I think, now that you call me crazy, but I think they should just wait and trade.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, look,
Daniel Jones.
if this thing works out for the Cardinals, what do you think the Giants should do then? Right? I mean, if Kyler Murray ends up getting the Cardinals in like a playoff position, throws for 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns right in his rookie year with Cliff Kingsbury in this wide open, gung-ho offense, what do you think the Giants should do? I would say trade your rookie quarterback because it worked for the Cardinals. And the difference is, though, the Cardinals had a better valued quarterback than what the Giants do. The Giants took a guy that probably should have gone in the middle of the second round probably, and they took him 6th overall.
And the Cardinals walked away with Andy Isabella with the pick that they
Exactly.
got from the Dolphins. And Andy Isabella, I'm not one of the people, but there has been a lot of hype around just him and Hakeem Butler and just that whole receiving core kind of just gelling. I think a lot of people might be expecting it to come really quickly, but they do have a lot of talent around there now. And, yeah, they had to do a really awkward move, trade their quarterback that they just got, whatever. But they had to do what they had to do to win, to make their organization better. So now just thinking that, I can definitely see that being an option.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. And look, next year, again, I don't know how good Tua Tagovailoa is going to be for the NFL, but he's been really good in college. Justin Herbert's been pretty good for Oregon. And Jake Fromm has been pretty darn good for Georgia. There's a possibility that you could be looking at 3 quarterbacks going in the first round. The question is, are you going to be one of those teams that drafts them or not? Because they also need a lot of help from offensive line to possibly corner and stuff. So, I mean, they got a lot of issues they got to look over. But you've got a quarterback here. You're probably not going to get the same value for Josh Rosen, but at least explore it if you're not committed to him, right? Or if you're not going to do it that year, 2021, guess who's coming out? Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, who I think is going to be a really good quarterback at Ohio State. And who knows? I think he's going to have a really good year. He could be better than Dwayne Haskins for all I know. Seems to have I think he's got a better accuracy than Haskins does. He can make a lot more throws than Haskins can. So, and Trevor Lawrence is a beast right now. I mean, if he would have come out in the NFL draft in 2019, he would have been the number 1 overall pick, no doubt. And he's a freshman, now a sophomore. And it's going to be interesting. Giants got a lot to think about on their plate right now. Hopefully they're listening to us right now so they can pick our brains.
Yeah, give me a job, please. Put me in the scouting department.
Yeah, for real.
I'll find your quarterback of the future.
I'll manage. I'll be a receiver for you. I don't care.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So away from the Giants, actually, I wanted to kind of dip in a little bit on actually the Arizona situation too, because speaking about it, because Arizona is a little bit of an interesting one in itself, I feel, because obviously this is a new head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, coming from Texas Tech, where he made Patrick Mahomes into the quarterback that we see he is, and now he's going in with a young quarterback in Kyler Murray, who there's a lot of question marks around him, but there's also a lot of talent inside that young man as well. And I've also been asked this question too on what do you think the Cardinals are going to do next year? How do you think Kyler Murray is going to come out of this? What do you think the Cardinals are going to be in what is now being dubbed my 3-year prediction?
God, I hope that the Cardinals are better than the Browns.
Oh, that would be great.
That would be
be
so
great.
amazing. I hate the Browns fans, man. They're just so terrible right now. They're out in full force, dude.
Well, and I'll get to the Browns here maybe later on if we got the time for this. But, when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, I mean, look, I'm going to say this. I think the first year is going to be a little shaky. Yeah, even though they've got that good rapport. I know Cliff Kingsbury recruited Kyler Murray to Texas A&M when he was there as a coach, and then, monitored him throughout his whole process of leaving there, going to Oklahoma, and, watched him play all throughout his Heisman season at Oklahoma. And then when he got the job as the Cardinals head coach, he said, well, look, if he's there, if he decides to go to the NFL draft, I would take him number 1 overall. Well, he goes to the NFL draft, and what does Cliff Kingsbury do? He drafts him number 1 overall, trades Josh Rosen out to the Miami Dolphins. And now, a lot of people are kind of like, it might work, but a lot of people are really doubting this. I will say this. I think we will see the Cardinals be more 6-10, 7-9 territory. I don't think they're going to be big-time losers like everybody thinks. A lot of people are thinking, 3-13, 2-14. This just isn't going to work. He's too small. He's a really good quarterback for what he is. Yeah, and don't doubt on the short quarterbacks, man. Russell Wilson was really good for what he is. In fact, I would argue to say he's one of the top 10, top 5 best quarterbacks in the league right now. He's a guy that I would say, start your franchise with him. If I needed a quarterback, he's one of those guys that I would pick to be a franchise quarterback. Kyler Murray is, who knows what he could be. He's got a big arm. He's got great mobility. He's small. Yes, he's small. We get it. He's small. But is that necessarily the worst thing in the world? I mean, if you can play, you can play. He played well enough to get that Oklahoma team to a national championship. Yes, I know, Big 12, no defense. I get it. But he played outstanding. And he's 5'9", 5'10", whatever he's measured at. It doesn't matter. What he does on the football field is what's going to matter. And if the way that Cliff Kingsbury plays his offense, he puts the quarterback in the shotgun. He spreads out the offense. He gets the defense going. He likes to run a lot of deep patterns. Kyler Murray likes to throw the ball deep. If he's sitting back in the shotgun 100% of the time, that's not the worst thing in the world, because guess what? He can see the field then. He doesn't have to work under center. And that's the way the league is now. Everybody's running. 85% of the plays are being run out of the shotgun. And on top of that, if David Johnson is what he is and comes back at 100%, now you've got a guy who can run plays out of the shotgun, so Kyler Murray doesn't have to run the ball as much, so he just has to stay in the pocket for the most part, doesn't have to concern himself with running the ball, right? And he can go catch passes as well. Well, that just adds to the offense. Plus, you've got a veteran wide receiver in Larry Fitzgerald, guaranteed Hall of Fame status at this point. I can't argue with me with that on anything. Again, you mentioned Andy Isabella. I like that kid. I think he's going to be really good for Kyler Murray. I don't think he's going to have a big season. I don't think he's going to have the big breakout year that people think he's going to have. But give him some time. I think he's going to develop into a really solid wide receiver. And then Hakeem Butler, he's 6'6", 227. He's a tight end playing wideout. I mean, there's a few issues here and there, but he was prolific. And I mean this, prolific at Iowa State.
And you think they also have Christian Kirk too? They drafted him last year.
There you go.
So it's just they're stacked offensively now. I don't know about their defense, and with their offensive line, I think it would just have to. You would have to expect the Cardinals to just be one of the healthiest teams in the NFL,
right?
If they were going to make that push for a 8-8, 9-7 season,
right? Yeah, no, definitely. Well, and then that's the biggest question is, what's the offensive line issue going to look like for them? How is this defense going to be able to manage with Patrick Peterson really kind of being the lone star there? I mean, look, although I do like Budda Baker. First off, great name. Love the name. Secondly, he's a really good safety that's willing to charge into everything. Right? He has no fear over who he's tackling, which is great. Okay? And defensive, I mean, they've got some good linebackers. They've got some pretty good defensive linemen. They could be decent. But again, a lot of this is going to be on how this team gets managed. Cliff Kingsbury has to be the head coach. He's going to control the offensive side of things. His defensive coordinator is going to have to make sure everything's ship-shape there. And if this team can go 7-9, 6-10, that's a win for them. I don't think they're going to be that bad. Now, in the long scale of things, how is this going to look? I don't think the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs in the 3-year span of my prediction for Kyler Murray. I will say this. I think Kyler Murray is going to have some really good seasons. I think he's going to throw like 25 more touchdowns than interceptions. But he's also going to have some bad games, and that's something that people are going to have to kind of deal with. Do I think he gets hurt at some point? Yeah, maybe. I think he takes a bad shot, maybe goes down for a few games, but I don't think he gets hurt in a major way. But again, a lot of this is going to hinder on how Cliff Kingsbury plays this offense out. I see Kyler Murray. I think he could be one of those guys that for the next 3 years, he's throwing for 3,000 yards. He's throwing for maybe 25-plus touchdowns. But he's also going to probably be throwing 12 or more interceptions along the way. But I think he's going to be good for the Cardinals because he's energetic, he's young, he adds an element to this offense that they desperately need. That, yes, Josh Rosen probably could have added just as well because he's a bigger, more physical quarterback. But I will say this for Josh Rosen to kind of knock him off a little bit, right? I think the kid's good. I think at some point he's going to start for the Miami Dolphins if he doesn't start day one. But I think one of his biggest issues is that there's a cocky factor. There's a cockiness in his factor to him where his ego's a little bit inflated. And the chip that he seems to put on his shoulder, I think, is overbearing him. Because he seemed to be really upset about the fact that he was a top 10 pick, right? He didn't like the fact that Baker went 1 and then, Josh Allen went and then Sam Darnold and then Josh Allen. He didn't like any of that. And I think maybe some of that hindered him in the process of trying to be an NFL quarterback because he's trying to say, I have to be better than these guys.
Yeah, well, guess what? He's not better than those guys.
He's not. Unfortunately,
not even close.
No, he's not. I will say this. I think him and Josh Allen could be on the same level.
Hell no, man.
You don't think so?
Josh Allen, I expect. It's just a
big
fan.
things?
Maybe you want to know what? Because maybe it's my fantasy bias, so I can kind of, a quarterback can be a good fantasy quarterback, but not a good actual quarterback. But I expect Josh Allen to kind of break out. I mean, they kind of added a lot of new pieces around him.
Right.
I think they added, even Cole Beasley, if I'm not.
Yeah.
If I'm
Cole
not
Beasley's on the team now. So now he's got a good slot option.
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a good quarterback. I thought he did well last year for the Bills. He did a lot for that team.
And he runs the ball too.
He does. He does. But I think for what I saw last year, even though Josh Rosen did kind of worse than him, I still see them kind of on the same level as far as talent. Now, I think Josh Allen can break away from that because of the system he's in now, and Buffalo's really done a lot to upgrade it, right? Miami is kind of like depleting themselves, it feels like.
Yeah.
Like they're banking a lot, like maybe they're hoping to get a quarterback in the next 2 or 3 years. Like feels like they're definitely tanking.
What's interesting is they have Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker,
Yeah.
and those names used to mean something. Those names used to absolutely mean something, and now it's just like Mike Gesicki.
Yeah.
And, people are talking about Kalen Ballage, that he was getting work in with the ones. And it's
Right.
like, dude, Kenyon Drake, when he was by himself as the workhorse, he was a beast. He can catch passes. He can run.
Yeah.
He can do
He's
everything.
an ultimate weapon.
Yeah, and they're just they're just kind of messed up offensively. But now that Adam Gase is gone, I'm expecting way better things.
No, yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully Flores can bring some life to the Dolphins. But, I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, for Josh Rosen, I mean, I'm going to say it again. I think Baker's going to have the best career out of all these quarterbacks that were in the draft. I think Sam Darnold's going to resurrect the life of the Jets, get them back in the playoffs. I don't think he's winning any Super Bowls, at least as of right now. I'm thinking his career is probably not going to be full of Super Bowls. But I am seeing potentially getting to at least one AFC championship game at some point down the line. Not now, but some point down the line. And then Josh Allen, I think he's going to help the Bills get into the playoffs. But for Sam Darnold and Josh Allen, a lot of that is also going to hinder on what happens with the Patriots. Because as long as Tom Brady and Bill Belichick live, The Patriots, unfortunately, just don't seem to be able to be beaten. And that's because their franchises run so well. But I think those two guys will eventually accelerate their teams to the level of being playoff contenders, competing for the divisional title, I think. I mean, it's tough to say because the Patriots have been so good. But you take Tom Brady and Bill Belichick out of that, out of that area, and I think it opens up a lot. The Dolphins, meanwhile, it's going to be hard because they've lost so much, and it just feels like they're setting themselves up to fail so that they can get better. Meanwhile, Baker, I already kind of said it for the Cleveland Browns, and I'll end it with the Cleveland Browns talk. I think Baker's going to have the best career of the bunch, but my fear is that it's going to be one of those things where I've said it with athletes before. I respect the athlete. I respect the person. It's the celebrity that drives me crazy. LeBron James doesn't. I love the player. Don't get me wrong. I respect the player. I love the person who gives and donates money and buys schools and stuff. It's great. I hate the celebrity. I'm afraid that's what's going to happen with Baker Mayfield. Because that's what's happened with Odell Beckham Jr. with me. I respect the talent at a wide receiver. I love the person that's willing to take every photo and sign every ball for every kid and every fan and all that stuff. I hate the celebrity Odell. 100%. OBJ celebrity is the worst.
Yes.
And that goes for a lot of athletes. And here's the thing too. The Browns, by the way, the receiving situation, it's going to be tough. If you don't know, there's a hierarchy in receiving. Okay, there's a hierarchy in wide receiver. Top number one go-to guy gets like 95 plus catches. Number two wide receivers usually get somewhere around like 65 to 75 plus catches. Tight ends get around from 50 to 60 plus catches. Running backs nowadays, it's 30, 40 plus catches. And the plus is, they might have more. Who knows? Slot receivers are usually somewhere around like 40 to 60 plus catches, right? You're throwing the ball maybe 500 times. It's going to be hard to split up all those catches. I'm just saying. It sounds easy in theory, but when you're throwing the ball 500 times, but you're only completing like maybe half of those passes or whatever, it's going to be tough. And Jarvis Landry already has a really good relationship with, Baker Mayfield. And he's a guy who catches 80, 90 passes already in a season. He did that in Miami. Odell's a guy who, he's caught over 100 passes in almost every single year except for the year where he got hurt. But he's also a guy that it feels like he's not going to get every single pass thrown his way because they're going to double team him. And they're not going to double team both guys. If you're going to double team somebody, who are you going to double team? I'm double teaming Odell Beckham Jr. over Jarvis Landry.
But I think that's what's interesting is because Jarvis Landry can still be that wide receiver one threat.
Yep.
And so I think that's why so many people are high on the Browns is because people don't even think about Antonio Callaway anymore.
Right.
Now he's just going to be your straight up Deshaun Jackson flyer that's just running streaks down the field every time. But
right. And he's going to work out of the slot where he's going to get a big advantage over those linebackers.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the thing that's interesting with the Browns is that I know that you kind of set this tier list for wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
I can honestly see that, when they're both healthy, if they were to both play 16 games, I can see a season in which both of those guys kind of almost reach that 100 reception mark on the season. Because if we're talking about a lot of pass attempts and people are expecting Baker Mayfield to make the jump, like 70% completion rate and 75% completion rate is like, that's not unheard of anymore.
No,
so
it's not.
That's kind of what you're expecting. And if you're going to be passing a lot, you're going to have those guys catching the ball, especially as possession receivers. You got 2 incredible possession receivers, also 3 guys that can just spread the field crazy. You got Njoku, DJ Jr., Kareem Hunt, if that ever turns into something.
Right.
It's just like the Browns are a really interesting team, and I'm just glad that Thomas isn't here, to be honest.
Yeah. No, well, this is something we wanted to talk about a little bit further on like our pre-show, which unfortunately wasn't able to manifest. But, yeah, no, they're They're going to be good. Don't get me wrong. They're going to be good. They're going to be exciting. I think they're going to be a decent team, but I think it's also going to be something where they struggle. I think they're going to be a team. I don't think they win the division. I'm going to say that. And again, yes, I agree with you, Jake. These two guys could definitely be great wide receivers. But here's the thing. Yes, they are best friends. They've been best friends since college, and they've been best friends in the pros. But friendships can sometimes shatter. If one's more successful than the other, sometimes there's a tear in that relationship. Sometimes that can happen.
Yeah, and with OBJ, anything can happen. He can get in a fight with a field goal post or the net,
Exactly.
or the practice net, or whatever we want. Like, I completely understand that, but I think that if they have a hot start, you can see craziness. I don't think Baker Mayfield is the greatest quarterback either, but
right.
Just the NFL is built around gimmick offenses.
Yeah,
And same with Patrick Mahomes. He's not a 50 touchdown quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is not that. You know, but in the gimmick NFL where you're just running guys open and like they don't have to be pinpoint accuracy. They're like their offensive coordinators are designing plays that their guys are running wide open.
Exactly.
That's why these quarterbacks are being successful. That's why we hope that Mitch Trubisky is going to be successful. And if Mitch Trubisky is successful this season, that's just another example of gimmick offense being successful in the NFL and scoring you points.
Exactly. And that's we mentioned it, to bring it full circle for the Dallas Cowboys, we mentioned it before. What do you need in this league to be successful? QB, wide receiver, offensive line, all that stuff. You know what else you really need? A really good head coach. A really good head coach, and also a just as good offensive coordinator. Those are the other things that you need to make your team really good. It helps, trust me. And if it's one and the same, like it is with the Bears and a few of these other teams out there, like Andy Reid and so many others, Sean McVay, and it helps a lot. And that brings it full circle, ladies and gentlemen, and that's going to do it for our show here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. This was a lot of NFL talk. I'm glad we were finally able to press on this. I know there's more that we can talk, and obviously we will get to it as time is passing on. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, and it was very nice to be able to kind of get back into the flow of football because I've been missing it a ton. Definitely been missing it a ton. Jake Bradley, ladies and gentlemen, my producer. Make sure to give him a lot of love and a lot of thanks. Jake, thank you so much, man, for helping me out.
Thank you so much. You know what? This was a lot of fun. We did radio before this on sportstownchicago.com.
Yeah.
And now we hop in the TV studio and just bust off a quick little TV show. And now we're going to enjoy the rest of our weekend, just like all the peeps.
Yeah. Well, you want to pimp out your stuff real fast?
Yeah. Just really quick. Of course, I'm Jake Bradley. You can follow me on Twitter at JBTeamski. You can follow my new website. It's with me and my sister, teamskifantasy.com. That's teamskifantasy.com. We're just doing fantasy articles and stuff related to fantasy football. At the moment, we might spread to other things, but right now that's kind of it. And then also we got Putting Up Points, which is our radio show every Saturday from 12 to 2. Today we were missing Tyler. And we went on from 1 to 2, but me and Andrew still had a pretty cool talk about just X-Bomb in general. And then we also hit on some NFL stuff. And if you want to check that out, you can always look at the VODs on Facebook Live if you search sportstownchicago.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, make sure to go check out Putting Up Points, sportstownchicago.com. Jake Bradley, Tyler Prickett, they do a really good job.
It's trash.
That is the new adopted name for the show, apparently. But definitely go check those guys out. 12 to 2, they do a great job before the show. They always fantastic stuff. A lot of good stuff for fantasy. If you're into fantasy football, definitely go check them out. They do a lot. Definitely go check out Jake's website as well. Teamski.com, is that correct?
Teamskifantasy.com.
Teamskifantasy.com.
What's funny is Team Ski is like, you can imagine it's about skiing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what popped up when I tried to look it up the first time. It was all skiing stuff. I'm like, I know this is not his stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a long story, but Team Ski, it's like when people say like ski at the end of words, like dope ski.
Yeah.
Especially dope ski is one of the one that you hear a lot lately. So when I was thinking of team ski, I kind of did it like I kind of reverse engineered it where I was like, I want to call it team ski, but I want to like have the SKI actually mean something. So I think that it's just the way it worked out. And team ski, right? Like if you look at team ski on Twitter or teamski.com, it's people who love skiing. And I don't blame them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I had a totally different idea of when I named my stuff. So
right.
But I don't mind. So it's teamskifantasy.com. Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, no, definitely, guys, go check that out. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I am at the Fluffy Guru on Twitter. I am Boom Crew Captain on Instagram. If you guys want to go follow that as well. If you guys want to check us out, seasons 1 and 2, the OG crew, the original back in the day from where we started to where we are now. Seasons 1 and 2 are on our Facebook page at Team X Bomb Sports. Make sure to go look that up. Give us any likes or comments. We're going to be posting some of those on our anchor.fm that we're going to be using now for X Bomb Sports. So you guys can listen to those in the podcast form. But make sure to go check out those original videos. If you guys want to also follow us on Twitter at XBomb Sports, Instagram at XBomb Sports as well. The same thing. Make sure to go follow us there where we post up polls, pictures, the shows, all that stuff. We do that, all that tweeting. Follow us at XBomb Productions as well on Twitter. I always forget that one. We will, at XBomb, XBP_official. Follow us there. Make sure, give us some love, give us some likes on there as well. We redo a lot of stuff now with the show and stuff. And make sure to subscribe here to the channel at XBomb Productions. Like, comment, subscribe on all the shows and videos. Share it with your friends. Share it with your families, your mom, your dog.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell for the notifications so you guys know when we are live streaming. Hopefully, we're going to be getting some newer content out to you guys. We're exploring different things. Me and Tom and Jake and Jacob, we're trying to put together a podcast thing, trying to see if we can do more for you guys. We'll let you guys know when all that stuff is dropping, but we got to get out of here because I'm tired, I'm sweaty, and I'm also very, very hungry. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you guys on Wednesday. And as always, much love and peace out, Boom Crew.